And today's topic is about how to get started on doing it different, how to um, take that first step. I've been talking about for the last since the show started for the last 6 7 months. We've been talking, I've been giving you the tools and the techniques and the information to make it easier for you to shift your crystal, to get out of the old way of thinking, to do it different, to change your life in the ways that you want to change it instead of feeling like you're, spinning your wheels or walking in circles or hitting a brick wall. And one of the key, literally the key to all of your awareness and to all of the changes and evolution that you want to make in your life is non-judgment, learning not to judge. And I know there's a lot of people out there who are going to say, well, I don't judge. And it's like, well, you might want to look at that a little bit more, because I want to remind you, too, that guilt is the non-active form of judgment. When you're feeling guilty about anything, you are judging. You're judging yourself, you're judging the situation, you're judging your world, you're judging everything, even through the feelings of guilt. And judgment is any time that you make something good or bad or right or wrong, you are in judgment, because everything just is. We are all unique, radiant, rare, and precious cosmic beings. There is no two of us alike. So what is the basis for the judgment? You can have an opinion, but that's different from a judgment, because an opinion you own. I think that this is wrong. I think this is unacceptable. As opposed to saying, well, that's just wrong. That is a judgment, because that's taking it and making your opinion of it good or bad, right or wrong, or your perspective of it, good or bad or right or wrong. And it's not. It just is. And if your perspective of it is taking you down the road to make it good or bad or right or wrong, you need to pull back and look and say, okay, what is this showing me? What do I need to look at? What am I judging and why? Because the judgment is always going to be based on meeting a need. And so I would say that would be your second step. What need are you trying to meet? Even if you get caught up in the false beliefs of I want to have my own way, or to think a thing makes it so, or it's important to please others, or any of the other core beliefs, it is about meeting a need. And we're going to meet those needs, or those needs are going to be triggered through fear, through judgment. And any time that you go into judgment, it's going to be about fear. That's the way that the cycle works. That's the way the game is played. Anytime you judge something, you're giving your power away to it. You are making that more important than anything else. You're allowing it to get you anxious, upset, angry, fearful. And to what end? How is that serving you? It's not. It's serving the powers that be, which feed on negative dark energy. And that is the only way that you are going to be able to start shifting your crystal, is to get out of the negativity of the judgment. How wonderful. I see that we have a call. I just want to remind you to please turn your computer down. Hi, you're on the air. Who am I talking to?
Hi, Sherry. This is Tara.
Hi, Tara. I'm so happy you called. How you doing?
I'm great. I have just been going through some awesome awakening and transformation. It's kind of like whirling through my head so fast I can't even journal it hardly. It's just amazing.
Oh, that is so good to hear. Do you want to share some of it?
Yes, actually, I think one of the biggest realizations I've come to recently that's really helped me embark on a accelerated ascension or whatever, anyway, is I realized I kind of looked into ego a little more, and I realized that, even though I think I'm not a very judgmental person, I'm a very, very good judge.
I apparently am
apparently I'm very accepting of, other races and other peoples and, the levels. I understand all that. And, of course, every now and then I think, God, I wish they would just wake up, or I wish they'd stop being so superficial, and then I catch myself, oh, that's a judgment,
Yes,
and so
it is.
I've been really looking at how I judge other people, and I've, gotten to the point, of course, like I said on the last show, where I don't really talk to myself badly or, tell myself, oh, you're stupid or any of that kind of stuff either. So I thought I was doing really good and I wasn't being judgmental, but I realized I was.
Wow,
And
that is a huge awareness.
Oh, gosh, I know. And the reason I realize this is because I'm reading this book called The Secret of Letting Go, and it helps me look at the ego in a different way. And I understand it a little more now. I kind of always thought ego was just this, creepy guy that was hanging out, trying to, mess things up for me, or a creepy girl since it's me. But I didn't, there was just some block where I couldn't quite understand, and it's probably because ego was blocking me from understanding. But this book calls ego the false self. And that different label helped me realize, because I did realize the ego was holding false beliefs and stuff, but when I realized that was really just like a false self trying to keep everything, safe for me.
Yes.
In a way that everything I was learning, I was only learning it kind of superficially, which is why I was getting annoyed with people who were being superficial as well, because that mirror, but I didn't think it was a mirror. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
oh,
absolutely.
And so I realized that the false self is kind of like the Wizard of Oz. He's just an illusion, a master of illusion, and he's back there all powerful, telling you, no, you have to. Yeah, he's the ego's back there. I don't know why I keep calling him a he, but anyway, and he's back there, talking in a loud voice, telling you what you need to do and what you need feeling to believe, and and then you see it's just this little guy behind a curtain, speaking.
Exactly.
Oh, goodness. And so the ego kind of keeps you making mountains out of molehills as well. And then resentment. It really likes to keep you in resentment, I learned, because resenting someone is like a pleasure cruise on a luxury liner for this shallow nature, because it can crash and sink itself again and again and again over the same situation.
Yes. Yes.
And so I realized how it's bringing new situations to me about old resentments from maybe my childhood that I am not even quite aware of, or they're so buried deep that I'm like, I don't care about that anymore. And so I brought these situations and people to me that would then make me uncover deeper on a deeper level.
Awesome. That is fabulous. And thank you so much for sharing that and bringing that to your consciousness. And ego is a shadow self. It's the little self. It's the one that wants to keep us in the conditioning and programming, so to speak. Because as long as we're in the conditioning and programming, ego thinks we're safe based on its cockeyed perception of what safe is.
Exactly. And so I realized that the higher self, excuse me. I realized that now that I know that ego is like a false self and like a lower level self, I'm the higher self, and I can look at it kind of from above instead of within it, because I say, oh, wait, that's not even me, that's ego.
Yes, absolutely. And it's very important to make that distinction. We are not our egos. The ego is literally the manifestation of who we think we are or supposed to be, not who we truly are.
Yes.
And that's just such an amazing awareness, because that is literally the key. Ego judges, spirit doesn't. Spirit accepts, spirit allows, spirit has tolerance. That's our higher consciousness. And really, that's all we're trying to do, is to recognize who ego is and what ego is doing that is keeping who we truly are from manifesting into the world.
Exactly. So I was only touching the superficial layer of everything, and I was kind of superficially New Age, I suppose someone could say, if someone wanted to judge me and such.
Now, see, that's a judgment in and of itself.
Well, see, someone actually judges me a lot for being all metaphysical but not always being perfectly positive and wonderful all the time.
Well, of course. But again, remember, honey, that's their perspective of what metaphysics and spirituality and all of that is, and it's not real.
True. And part of the reason I guess I've said it like that is because I realized that I was doing the work where you look up the symptoms in the book. I was doing, Reiki. I was doing chakra work. I was, doing all this stuff, I thought, but it was really ego kind of just keeping me busy. And the main point in this, though, is that whenever I look up the body stuff, I mainly focus on the probable cause and be like, oh, yeah, it's because of those people that did that to me. That's what, see, I feel like this because of them. And I couldn't get out of that part. I would try to get to the emotion, and I would, but I don't think I'd get to it as much as I needed to because I was a little bit caught up in still, figures. I knew it. They did this to me, and now look, I have this problem.
Oh, bless you, darling. That is fabulous that you've come into that awareness. And like you said at the beginning, look how quickly it shifted for you and how your life started changing.
Yeah, my rash on my fingers is getting better because I have really realized the resentment that I've been holding and how it's a sinking ship, and I'm doing it to myself, or my false self is doing it to me, or whatever.
Well, let's change that to doing it for you, because if it wasn't there, you would not be embarking on this journey. And this is where it comes back to none of us are victims. We have been taught, again, this goes through that conditioning and programming, which is directed at ego, because ego has been in control for so long. We have literally just recently been in a space energetically where we could get out of ego. I use the analogy that, we've made that decision to reincarnate and come into our life, and we've got spirit in the driver's seat, and we've got ego as co-pilot taking us on this journey. We hit something along the way, and spirit gets knocked unconscious in the back seat. Ego jumps in the driver's seat because they both are in agreement that keeping this being safe and allowing it to evolve is what its job is. Well, it's only been very recently, in the last 20 years, literally, that the energy has been available on the planet that would allow spirit to wake up, let's put it that way. And as spirit is waking up, spirit's going, okay, wow, this is not the way that it was intended to be, so let's see what we can do to correct it. So ego sometimes is very willing to jump out of the driver's seat and say, okay, this is my job being co-pilot, and let spirit take over. But then the ego sometimes is too afraid to let go, because it has worked so hard to keep you safe, keep you conditioned and programmed, keep you feeling like you're a victim, because if you feel like you're a victim, then you will continue to stay in the conditioning and the programming. You will you will feel and release the negative energy that the powers that be feed on. So literally, we are all waking up. And the other thing I wanted to remind you of, all of us, that just since the middle of December, there has been so much love energy beamed onto the planet that it's coming in waves, and it is literally pushing us forward. And it's like, you can take a sponge bath, but then when you get in the shower, everything gets washed away. This new energy that's coming in is like standing in the shower, or and it's getting into all of the nooks and crannies. And if you think that, we all think that we've gotten it resolved, or that we've dealt with that issue, and all of a sudden, all of this new energy comes in that's getting into the nooks and crannies, and we realize, just like you have shared, oh wow, there's still more. There's still more stuff that I can release, more that I have been judging, more that I have been holding on to, more than I have realized. And as this energy comes in, it's getting easier and faster, because we are so close to the end of it, so close to the ascension, that we are being uplifted and supported in waves and waves of love energy. I am so happy for you, darling. I think thank you for sharing this. This is such an incredible first-person experience. And I am grateful that you have shared that. Just keep doing it.
Well,
just keep
you.
going
thank
where
you
you're
for
going.
Having your show. Thanks
Oh,
for
you're
having me
so
so I
welcome.
could share. And one more little thing, I realized I was judging all my books really harshly and kicking them around and cussing them out and just really mad about them, trying to get rid of them, trying to do all this stuff to those ugly books. And, I thought I was done with that book, and it came back with a new cover that I thought was shiny and beautiful. I opened it, and it's the same book.
That's the way spirit works, darling.
Yes, so I want to thank you once again for doing what you're doing and for being the shockwave rider for us that are coming behind you and blazing that trail even harder.
Oh, yes, you are. Thank you so much for calling, Tara, and for sharing this. I love you dearly.
Love you too. Namaste.
Namaste. Oh, what a beautiful personal experience. And that's just what's really going on. All of the things that I've shared with you are just the tools to help you to get to this realization, to help you to get over the speed bumps on your road or the boulders that have been placed there. These are all tools, red flags as I call them. Things like when you find yourself defending, explaining, justifying, and rationalizing. That's a red flag because you're out of your truth. If you are in your truth, which means that you are being the beautiful being that you are instead of expressing through ego, then everything just is. And because there is so much light coming into the planet right now, the dark is literally starving to death. And the energies, look at what's going on in our world. Look at how much chaos and negativity is being created just from the presidential election alone. Whether you love Trump or hate him, one of the things that this man has done has brought to the surface all of the wounds that need to be exposed to be healed. All of the divisiveness. Just because it wasn't talked about before and nobody gave permission to speak it until Trump came along, doesn't mean it didn't exist. And we're acting like, oh my God, this is the first time I've ever heard it. Or, oh my God, you can't say those kind of things. Well, it's time for those kind of things to be said. I don't agree with a lot of the way that he has said the things that he said, but I do agree that the things need to be brought to the surface. We need to recognize the division that's created by the inequality, by the constant judgment of another person because of their skin color, because of their gender, because of their beliefs, because of their religion. And that list can just go on and on and on. And nobody out there is going to stop it. The only way that this can stop is for each person individually to look within and say, enough, done. If I truly believe that I am the only one of me there is, which, by the way, is scientifically proven, it's not a woo-woo thing, then how can I also believe that someone else is better or worse than I am? We chose this incarnation, and we chose the experiences, the lessons that we get to learn, the parents that we came through, the conditioning and programming that we chose to come in to change. None of us are here by accident. We are all here by special permission from Creator to do what we're here to do. And our presence is enough. People keep getting distracted by saying, oh, I have a purpose. I have to do something. Doing is being who you are. And that is not as easy as you might think it is because we are conditioned not to be that. We've been taught since the moment we came out of the womb not to be who we are, but to be who everybody else wants us to be, thinks we should be, and will only accept us if we become that. Those are the lies that we have lived for, God, generation after generation after generation, eons literally. The conditioning and programming is not new. It's just perpetuated. And right now it's being challenged. It's being resisted in a way that it never has before. And the, quote, powers that be, unquote, don't know how to handle it because we have always been good little servants. We always been good little minions. And the minions are rising. The minions are becoming who they truly are. And when we are who we are, there is nothing that can stop us, literally, because we are in divine harmony. We are in divine grace. We are in divine resonance with all that is. And all of these other things are distractions to keep us from our own truth, from experiencing and expressing what that truly is. And as I've shared with you the tools and the opportunities, the ways, techniques that you can use to help you become aware, that's all they are. Because any of this is about becoming aware of asking yourself, does it still feel good to badmouth somebody? Does it still feel good to beat yourself up? And if it doesn't, then what do you do then? And that's when you start coming into acceptance. That's when you have to remind yourself and remember who you really are. You know, are you this worthless, horrible person that you've been taught to believe? Or are you this beautiful, radiant, rare, and precious cosmic miracle? You hate a race or you hate a society, a religion or a social, a society's, I can't think of the word, beliefs because it's foreign from you, it's different, you don't understand it. But when you take the time to meet a person of that race, religion, or social standing and talk to them one-on-one, wow, that's really a pretty nice person. I could be friends with that person. But that's just him. That's not the rest of them. The rest of them are all da-da-da. You've got to start seeing the conflict and the contradiction in the things that you are saying, thinking, and believing. We deny who we are because we don't know. We can't give ourselves permission. And a lot of people don't even know that it's within their power to give themselves permission to be who they are because they don't know who it is. Yes, you do know who you are. It's just not defined through the conditioning and programming of our social structure. And that's what has to be recognized. That's what we have to come into the awareness of. I mean, you can't think another's thoughts, feelings, or their actions, yet you're supposed to know how they feel and change you to meet what you think they want. Do you see how cockeyed that is? It's a contradiction in the very statement itself. And we just absolutely allow it. We don't even think about it. We are so used to being automatically conditioned and programmed. We hear, but we don't listen. And as I've said many times before, people who know me know I yell at the TV and and voice my objection because there needs to be a balance. And if there isn't a balance in any other way, do it energetically. Speak your truth. But you can't want something for yourself without wanting it for everyone else too, because we are all one. We are all connected. When you come into that place in your heart of loving you, and you connect with another person who's in that place in their heart of loving themselves, there is a oneness that is created. That is the connection. That is the friends. That is the love. That's what all of this is about. It is vital to get out of judgment, because judgment literally is the key to your awareness, to your evolution, to your understanding, to your forgiveness, to all that you are struggling with. And people say, well, I don't know how to do it. There is no how. Nobody knows how to do it, because the how implies that it's something that you need to be taught or that you haven't learned. Well, if you're the only one of you there is, and nobody else has ever lived your lives or walked the path that you're walking, how can they tell you how to do something? They can't. All anybody can do is give you the tools. How you use those tools is still up to you. It's still the unique process for you. It's just like with the muscle testing. It is an amazing way confirm and to validate the information that you're getting, the thoughts that you're thinking. People say, well, I'm asking the question and I'm not getting any answers. Yes, you are getting your answers. You're not getting it in the way you think you're supposed to, or you're not hearing what you want to hear. But your answers are there. And I'm not clairaudient. I don't hear, but I have learned how to tap in to that higher knowledge through using the muscle testing, because that is one of your true tools, because it's going directly to the subconscious, which the subconscious holds everything, and the subconscious holds it without judgment. So when you ask a question of your higher self, don't expect to hear the voice in your head, again, unless you're a clairaudient, and if you do, bless you. But for those of us who don't hear it that way, one of the tools that I use that I have found to be incredibly beneficial is to, and again, do this with me. Put your index finger and your thumb together on your left hand in a circle. Then link the index finger and the thumb on the right hand through that, so that you've got like a chain. You've got like an infinity symbol. Okay? So when you put those two together and pull, there's a good connection, right? It's strong. It's not breaking. You're not pulling it apart. Now, what I want you to do is, with your fingers in that position, say the word love. Do you feel how much stronger that got? Oh, say the word love and then pull, trying to pull your fingers apart. It's not going to. But now say the word hate and pull your fingers apart. Look at how fast that shifted. Love, hate, yes, no. It's all, this is your body's way of talking to you. So if you have asked a question of your higher self, and all of a sudden you get this thought that runs through your head that says that you're judging. You're thinking it's just your mind. You're thinking it's just your ego. You're thinking it's just thinking. But at that point, what you want to do is do your muscle testing. The information I just received, or the thought that I just had, is that I'm in judgment. Is that true? And then pull. If it doesn't pull apart, that's a yes. If it pulls apart, that's a no. And it's like, thank you. And keep going on. Keep asking the questions. Thoughts will come to you. Awarenesses will trickle in. Your job is to pay attention to that. And of course, why would we trust our thought processes? Because again, at that point, we're still caught up in ego. We're not trusting that we're clear or that we're in our truth about it. All the tools do is help guide you. Just like turning on the headlights in your vehicle at night or putting the windshield wipers on in the rain. These are tools to help us through the situation that we are in any given time. And that is exactly what we need. It's not good or bad or right or wrong. It's just what is. And this is information that is being presented in many, many different ways. I know whenever I first started my journey, I read every book I could get my hands on, hundreds of books, literally. And at a point, it got to the point where it was all the books were saying the same thing, which was my indication that quit reading about it and start using the information. Start using the tools that the information has brought you. Because having all the information in the world does not mean you're using it. And that's what you have to do. Take these steps. Use the tools you're being given. Ask yourself the questions, and you will get the answers. But just let go of the judgment or the expectation of how you're going to receive that. Just because you and your best friend and all these people that you know are clairaudient or clairvoyant or clairsentient or whatever, everybody has a different gift. You're not going to get it the same way. The information ultimately will be the same, but the way that you get the information is going to be as varied and different as each of us is. We must start accepting the uniqueness of us. We are different. To deny that is way out of your truth because you're denying something that's absolutely in your face. And you have to remember also that the universe is on your side. Our guides, our angels, Creator, God, whatever you want to call, wants us to succeed, wants us to evolve, wants us to be who we are, because literally that is what we came here to do, is to be who we are. And in our acceptance and tolerance and allowing of ourselves to be who we are able to extend that same acceptance and tolerance and love to another being. And as much as you may not want to hear it, you cannot receive from another person more than what you hold for yourself. That is a truth. That is what is. Again, whether you love it or hate it is irrelevant. If you only love yourself 10%, if you respect yourself, fill in the blank of the word, tolerate, accept, allow, honor, value, whatever that word is, the degree that you feel it and own it for yourself is the degree to which you're going to receive it from another, and literally the degree from which you can only extend it to another. Now think about that. That is one of the most powerful awarenesses and truths that I can give you. So whatever it is that you are judging, whether it is through guilt or through the actual experience of judgment, you have to be conscious of it to change it. You have to recognize and love yourself, warts and all. We are all perfect for who we are. But in our social world and in our structure, we are all imperfect. Choose which one you want to go with, because it's the judgment that perpetuates the imperfection. When you start loving yourself and accepting and valuing and respecting and nurturing and honoring who you are, you will find that you are full. Your heart is full. You are happy. You are joyful. And all of those things that you literally almost sold your soul to get from other people is now, it doesn't count. It doesn't matter. You've given it to yourself, so you don't need it from them. There's no control that they can have over you at this point, because there's nothing that you, quote, need from them, because you've given it to yourself first. And if you don't give it to yourself first, how are you going to recognize it when somebody else attempts to give it to you? You won't. And remember this, that's the intent of the powers that be. This is the vicious cycle that has been perpetuated in every breath we take, in every step that we walk. It's it's everywhere. No matter where you look, you're going to find this type of thinking. Oh, I've got to please somebody else. I've got to make them like me, because if they don't like me, then I'm bad. I'm wrong. I'm not good. And as I always say, according to who and compared to what? If you are comparing, you're judging. It's that simple. And this is one of the things that it's the hardest, easy thing you'll ever do, when you recognize that judging is literally the key to your awareness, to your evolution, to you being who you truly are. Learning not to judge is your challenge, and that's what all the tools are. There are so many conscious, aware beings sharing this information, trying to get the understanding and the awareness out there in different ways. And do not for a second think that, oh, well, they're saying the same thing I am, so I don't need to say it. That is not true, because nobody's going to say it the way you do. Nobody is going to understand it the way you do, or be able to share and experience and explain and be who you are without it. So I want to take a break here for a second and remind you, for those of you who are just joining us, this is Easy Knowing, and I'm Sherry Kennedy. And I'm thrilled to have you participate in the show. If you would like to give me a call, share your own story, your own path, ask a question, or just make a comment, I would love to hear from you. So going back or continuing with our conversation, whenever you find yourself in the judgment or making something good or bad or right or wrong, this is some more tools that will assist you. Ask yourself, why am I really angry or hurt? What need am I trying to meet? Who or what am I trying to please? Is this what I really believe and feel, or what I think I'm supposed to believe and feel? What am I really afraid of? Who or what am I judging in myself or others? Am I trying to have my own way regardless of the results? And a couple of other questions that will serve you to become aware are, what does the receiving end of my actions and behavior feel like? And how can I express my feelings without judgment? Create such a power struggle within and without. You think, well, how can judgment create the power struggle within? Okay. Think about it. When your heart, which is your higher self, so to speak, is feeling one thing, and your ego and your conditioning and programming is feeling another, that's a conflict. That's judgment, because one side is not allowing the other side. One side of you is fighting with the other side of you to be who you truly are. And this is what is important for you to recognize. Judging it, hiding it, pretending that it's not what it is, blaming, deflecting, all of these things are ways that we use to seemingly protect ourselves. But in truth, our only protection is our vulnerability, because our vulnerability puts us in our heart. And when you're in your heart and in your truth of who you are, there is absolutely nothing that can harm you in that way. Somebody can call you the worst thing that they can possibly think of to call you. But because you know who you are, you can have the love, acceptance, and the understanding and the tolerance that that's where they're coming from and it's not yours. Now, I'm a big believer in setting boundaries, because that's part of loving yourself, of saying, no, I understand where you're coming from, but you don't get to treat me that way. It's the difference in the sense between compassion and empathy. You have to set the boundaries for who you are and step up to them. And people will challenge them constantly. They will try and shake you out of your truth because they want you to falter. If you falter, then that means they're right. Then that means that judgment is good. That means that everything that's false that they're believing in is good. If in their mind they can make you be less than who you are. False modesty now is a whole different ballgame. When you are pretending to be in your truth and pretending to be aware and pretending to be evolved, that is going to come back and bite you in the behind so hard it's going to make your head spin. Not in that moment, but it will come back to get you, because it's against the highest good. It's against what we're here to do. We are here to become aware. We are here to recognize who we are and to accept ourselves 100% unconditionally, with warts and all. And if you want to look at it from that perspective, your warts are not like anybody else's, so be proud of them until they can be removed or changed. And that doesn't mean defend them or justify or rationalize or anything like that. That means to accept that you still may have work to do, that you still are evolving, that you are a conscious being walking a path to your own enlightenment, to your own evolution. Remove the judgment. How can you express without judgment? How can you express in the positive? One of the examples that I use is we always have a tendency to say, don't forget to do this, don't forget to do that. When in truth, what we are really saying is remember. Don't forget is a negative in relation to remember. Pay attention. Pay attention to your heart. Pay attention to your head. And if they are not in sync, it is your job to get them there. And believe me, none of us are alone ever. You have your guides that can to assist you. You have physical knowledge written in black and white on paper to assist you. We've got so much choice. And all you have to do is ask your higher self, is this right for me? All information, all paths are not going to be identical. And you cannot walk someone else's path. You may be able to walk along beside them for a little while, but you're eventually going to have to get back on your own path. And knowing what your path is part of this process. That's what these tools are for. That's what the information is about. Recognizing that when you're judging, all you're trying to do is to get your own need met. And remember, there are only 7 basic core needs. Everything else stems from them. And those core needs are comfort, pleasure, attention, acceptance, approval, importance, and value. Those are human needs. Those are core needs for every being on the planet. But we're not taught. We're taught that we cannot meet those needs for ourselves. We're not good enough. We're not special enough. We're just a minion. You have to get somebody else to give you that. And in that process, it triggers the core fears. Based on the life you've lived, based on the and the lessons that you're here to learn and or teach, it's going to throw you into one of the core fears of abandonment and separation, trust and surrender, or worth and value. No matter what fear you're feeling, it's going to be one or two of those 3. Your basic needs. Well, I don't know what that means. Well, how could you if you've never allowed yourself to experience it? Comfort is a whole lot more than just having a nice fluffy bed or a soft chair to sit in and being warm and having a full belly. What about the spiritual comfort, the emotional comfort, the mental comfort? We don't give credence to that. But the basic needs that I'm talking about in our physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, they exist on all 4 levels. So it's not just the comfort or the pleasure or the attention of the physical. It is also those must be met on the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual. Are you doing that? And if you're not, if you look, I'm sure you're going to find that it's because you're judging. Some way, somehow. And I do want to reiterate, guilt is the non-action form of judgment. That is a very powerful statement in and of itself, and it's really important for you to recognize that because we are taught to feel guilty, to have shame, to beat ourselves up for who we are or for what we've done. Whenever that's all based on somebody else's opinion, somebody else's path, somebody else's needs that they're trying to meet for themselves. Your job is to stay focused in yourself. Now, again, there is a huge, huge difference between being greedy and being selfish. We all have to be selfish, meaning that we have to take care of our own needs, because if our well isn't dry, isn't full, you have nothing to give to anyone else. You have to keep your well full. Meet your own needs. Walk your talk. Speak your truth. Be who you are. Because if you can't do that, there's no way that you can assist another being. Being valued, being important. And I know a lot of people will scoff at this and dismiss it easily. But if you are already valued and important and perfect because you're here. To be on this planet at this time, going through this huge transformation that not only us as individuals, but the world we live in is going through these huge changes that is going to affect the rest of our galaxy and all of creation. This is a really, really big deal, and nobody is here by accident. So if you're thinking that you shouldn't be here and you don't have a right to be and blah, 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 knock it off. Because the fact that you are having a life and living right now is the proof that you are. Trust your own knowing. Trust your heart, not your head. Because ego, like I said, ego is trying to keep you safe based on ego's perspective. And ego thinks that staying conditioned and programmed, staying in that false illusion, that false reality is how it will keep us safe. And honestly, in the past, it has been true. That is exactly what has protected us because there wasn't enough energy to support it being different. How many people have you read stories about that were the one of a kind? Those people that for some reason were able to go above the energy that they were existing in and bring in a little light, turn a page, be that small little candle in a very, very dark place. Of course, they were usually crucified for it and removed from the presence, but the work that they did during that time affected all of us up to this point. Everything that we do is important to the whole, to the greater good, to everyone else's evolution, because when you evolve, you put that information in the grid and you give other people permission to do the same. The way you did it, nobody else can do, but the tools you use to accomplish that are things that can be shared. And again, I will say over and over again, if you encounter anyone, spiritual teacher, healer, guru, beggar on the street who says, I have your answers for you, you better turn and run like your life depends on it, because it literally does. All anybody else can do is share the knowledge, the wisdom, the experiences they've had, the path they've walked. And if you can gain any knowledge and wisdom from that to use in your own life, that's what it's about. Because how you use that information is also going to evolve all of humanity. Well, I see that I am being prompted that we're almost done. I want to thank you, Tara, for calling and sharing that wonderful story and your evolution with us. And for all of you who have questions or information, please go to the website. Check out the past programs. Send me an email. I would love to assist in whatever way that serves the highest and greatest good. So until next time, follow your heart song and paint the world with the colors of your soul. Bye-bye.
Welcome to Metro PCS.
Hi, I heard you're giving free phones to everybody?
Yes, right now everybody gets a free phone. You and your friends, cousins, neighbors, roommates.
What if I'm already with Metro PCS?
Yeah, it's for existing customers, new customers, people named Willie, dog lovers.
That's awesome.
Everyone gets a free phone at Metro PCS. Come choose your select free phone from brands like Samsung and LG. Metro PCS. Wireless figured out. Sales tax not included. Phones free after instant and mail-in rebates. Upgrade fee may apply. Excludes numbers on the T-Mobile network. See store for details and terms and conditions.